We got two 5.5 chapters this time around, as well as the Lob Corp event, so I think a video recapping what we learned is in order, especially because we got some really juicy bits this time around. The party of the LCB kept the seagull we saw in Chapter 5, but they have to get rid of it once we leave the Great Lakes. The DM always finds a way to keep the party from gathering a herd of pets. I know this from first-hand experience. We'll have to see how important it is in the future, but the flow is first mentioned here by Virgil, almost as if Virgil or a Limbus company have a schedule to keep. Heathcliff has a really good head on his shoulders. He knows that there's some difficult character growth coming up. Emphasis on it being difficult. None of this is easy for any of the sinners, despite our omniscient view of it all. Santa is canonically part of the Deviant Association. Well, their version of Santa at the least, in that it being Red Sack and his partner, Reindeer Man. Even Heathcliff feels the naming convention might be a color, but Dawn doesn't confirm it. Ha! A resurfacing of Del Atardecer Ardiente. Mark my words, we will see them at some point. The doors in the back of Mephistopheles can lead to the Outskirts, namely, a factory of gnomes banished from the city. These doors truly are a marvel. They probably make use of W Corp tech, without the needs for endless human suffering to gather time. Revenge? What could have possibly gave that away? Though we know it already, Faust confirms the existence of other races in the world, and calling them monsters is simply arbitrary. Even though the gnomes are exiled, there is no arguments against the city's wings working with the Outskirts inhabitants, leaving it as a possibility. Crayon exposits about Cloudtown and how settlements exist in the Outskirts, and how they are able to exist due to talented hunters. Just goes to show that while the city is a shitty place, it can always get worse. Locomotives used to run in the Outskirts, which show that there used to be a far greater civilization out here if they had that kind of infrastructure. And at last we learned that we will be visiting Wuthering Heights itself. Moving on to the Blade Lineage event, T Corp's color stealing is omnipresent the moment you enter their territory. The further you are away from the center or the nest, the more hue you might be able to hold on to. Thinking about it now, having a Ronin battle arc in the middle of a district where everything looks like a Kurosawa film is amazing. It dawns on us that the Blade Lineage came to the library to escape the Kurikomo, namely that they were so oppressed in S Corp that they took any out they could. We also learned that S Corp has a heavily feudal Korean aesthetic. Came in after 2 team leader. This completely caught me off guard, as I wasn't expecting my brother's name to show up in Limbus. Be honest, when's the last time you ever heard the name Cayman? Cayman is not afraid to stand up to the Red Gaze, meaning she has some serious backing, and knows that he's in no real position to punish her in any way. The Smoke Wars used to blot out so much light that T Corp in all its monochrome greatness looked like a sunny day in comparison. The LCD, otherwise known as the Limbus Company Distortion Team, knows about the monolith that can force people to distort. We get to see some evolved Peccatum here. We haven't talked too much about them yet, but we first see them in Leviathan. Faust confirms that they are the embodiment of one's own sin, which makes sense since Peccatum literally means sin or fault. It feels to me as if Dante starts putting 2 and 5 together regarding the Seed of Light project. They were remembering stuff that they couldn't possibly know given their condition. Ong Lu mentioned that his grandpappy talked like this when Dante is getting all heated. Literally. He really says the most revealing stuff in such a nonchalant way. We're all on, like, the same page that we're gonna be fighting Hong Lu's family when it comes to his chapter, right? Like, that's a given. Dawn confirms the fire on Dante's head is real. How does he lay down? Does Dante know that the fire is real? Dante's head is just a fireplace, confirmed. Speaking of timepieces, Cayman had one as part of their design. Kim just so happened to appear here just after the library transfer. Kim just has the shittiest luck on dropping on his mortal enemies and then distorts as he loses all of his students he loves so much. Distortions can turn into an abnormality. That is new info. Well, new info for Limbus at least. I forget if that was mentioned or not in Distortion Detective. Damn, these LCA agents are scary as fuck. T-276 is the designation for Kim's new moniker, which appears to fall in line with how Lobotomy Corporation identified their abnormalities. Uh-oh. Well, at least we get to see some decent reaction time from Dante. Kidnapping is happening in T Corp. This will most certainly be a plot point in Chapter 6, or 6.5. A friend is a foe and a foe is a friend. Cryptic indeed. This reads as a message from someone on high, unless the specific LCA agent turns out to be someone important. It's Cayman's discussion, and the fact that Ezra and Moses are part of Limbus Company now, that makes me believe that Diaz is in charge of this shell company. Overall, I was very late to play the Christmas event, but I made up for it by playing Blade Lineage Day 1, because, let's be honest, who didn't love Kim in Library of Ruina? I bet you didn't even realize that he was based on real events. I know I didn't.